say is that a bad teacher is the one who forgets about his childhood. I still remember when I was a student, how happy I was sitting and listening to my former professors talking about her real experience in dealing with the suits in the international as the international arbitrator. And I really feel that I have to tell maybe not exactly the same story, but my own stories for my students. And that intrigues the question, is real-world business experience necessary for professors teaching business? I shared a question with Professor from Kinh College, and then we discussed for a while, and then we come to the final topic. Teaching business is experience necessary. And now, I raise the question to the lecturers. Yeah? Well, we send the online questionnaire to around 120 lecturers in different parts of the country, from Ho Chi Minh City to Hanoi and Da Nang. Unfortunately, we haven't got so many responses, but then we will try to do more in the future. So 12 of them responded, among whom 10 are masters and 2 are PhD holders. And 4 of them have more than 5 years of experience, and 8 of them have less than 5 years of experience. The question is, have you met any kind of difficulties in teaching without real-world business experience? And you can see the results here. 10 of them said yes, and the others said no, so just 2 of them. And then the next question is, do you think it's necessary to have real-world business experience in teaching business? We rank 4 levels. Very important, and 10 of them say very important. Relatively important, just 2, and no one considered of no necessity at all. Okay? Don't worry to take notes on these, because we will send our results by email to you in PDF. And then the next question we raise is that, do you think that updating your knowledge and experience in business world is important? And most of them say very important, and at least for every 4 months. So, and also one of my questions is that in your school or organization, is there any kind of support? Is there any requirements for the lecturers to have some kind of experience? We gave them the 3 options: yes, no, and no, but with some kind of advantages given to those who have the real-world business experience. And the result is rather surprising to me, because 5 of them said, well, of course, there is no official requirement, but advantages will be given to those who have more real-world business experience. This is what we need to think about. And the last question that we raised is that, does your organization or institution have some kind of supporting scheme for your lecturers to gain the hands-on experience for teaching? And unfortunately, we have around 50% say no. There's no supporting scheme or something like that to have the professors to gain experience. And that's why just the preliminary results. And that's why we come to the next very important part of our presentation today. You might have recognized her, Professor Lee, the lady in black, among her favorite students. And I won't tell you much. I won't really tell you much about Lee, because you will find her on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and the profile on Kinh College as well. But with her more than 30 years of experience, Lynn has always, and until now, she has always raised the question to herself that how to make things better. And now it's the time for you. Thank you.
Bear with us for a moment here while we change computers. I appreciate more than you know the opportunity to be here today. I spend a lot of time here in Hanoi. I'm leaving tomorrow evening to go back to America. I've been here 4 months. I'll be back in August. So at the end of this year, I will have lived in Hanoi 6 months, half of my year. And I do it because I love this work. That's why I do it. I don't do it because I love the weather. I do it because I love the work. I love the work, and I think that it's such an exciting time in your country. Because of the development, because I find that people here are so forward-looking. And so it's very exciting to be working with students. And you know, part of what I get to do is I get to interview students here and recommend them for scholarships. One of my favorite parts of my job. To see them go away to New York and come back, to go abroad and come back really as different people. I have only 6 slides, and here's how I structured it. This is sort of how I work. I talk to students about this. You've got to start somewhere, so you start with lots and lots and lots of information. And then you work with it, you work with it, and you work with it. It's like doing searches, right, Juan?
Yeah.
Mr. Juan and I worked together on my first year experience class, and he taught them how to do searches and citations and other really important things. So at the top here, I'm going to talk to you about 3 guiding questions. And then I'm going to give something that's a bit of context for why we work with students, why we do what we do. Then what's happening, and what do faculty think, what do students think, and then now what? What do we do with this information? I collected information from faculty and students as well. Mine is anecdotal. That's the kind of researcher I am. I don't consider myself a researcher. I really consider myself an interviewer. So that's kind of where we're going with this. Ms. Mead was right when she said that I'm always asking the question, what can I do better? I finish a class and then I think to myself, okay, what worked? What didn't work? These are not unusual questions, but what worked? What didn't work? What should I do next time? What should I change? And in the spirit of trying to improve my own teaching, a couple years ago I sat down with Dr. Diane Burke at our New York campus. And Dr. Burke has since retired, but she was known on our campus as probably the leader in bringing people together, bringing faculty, professors together to talk about their teaching and the commitment and responsibility we have to students. So I said to her, so Diane, give me some advice. She said, one of the things I always do when I'm preparing a new course is I say to she said, I write 3 guiding questions for the course. And those are the things that I keep in mind throughout the course. I can give you an example of that in a minute. But so what I did for today was I thought about 3 guiding questions. And these are them. They're general. They're not necessarily about business. But as I was thinking about preparing for today, I thought, well, you know, what is our responsibility to our students? And then why is it important for us to think about our teaching? Because I believe very strongly that it is. And how can we continue to grow and improve as teachers? You can call us faculty, you can call us lecturers, you can call us professors, but you know what? At the end of the day, we are teachers. That's what we do. It's a very hard job. No question about it. It is really hard. So those are my 3 guiding questions for us for today. I came across a book called Learning to Teach in Higher Education. And the information about it is in my reference slide, which you'll get as Dean said. So the guy who wrote the book, his name is Paul Ramsden. And he says there are 6 keys to classroom excellence. And they're based all about focus on students. You know, at CUCA in New York and in our program here, we pride ourselves in being student-centered. They are, excuse me, I just finished teaching a marketing class. I said, you know, you are the customers. You, the students, your parents, you're the customers for us. So the first thing is interest and explanation. Ramsden says that if we're interested in something, we don't care if we have to work really hard. If we like it, if we're interested in it, I mean, we've all had experiences of working on something that we love, whether it's writing or, for me it's organizing and working with my photos, and I look at my watch and it's 1 in the morning and I think, where did the time go? So if we can find ways to raise students' interest, get them involved, and if we can find ways to help them, to explain, to help them understand what it is we're trying to say, what it is we're trying to help them learn, they'll be more interested. Second one is concern and respect for students and students' learning. If you're a student and you have colleagues, you know this. If you're an instructor, you know this. No 2 students learn the same way. If everybody learned the same way, it would be very easy for us. But as human beings, we learn in different ways. As instructors, we have to keep that in mind. How does that translate into the classroom? Well, it means that lecture only doesn't work for everybody. It means that one size, we say in English, the expression is one size does not fit everybody. One size does not fit all. Exactly. If you have questions, by the way, if you have questions, ask any time. It's not possible to interrupt me, so please. The third thing, I think, is probably the most important, and that is appropriate assessment and feedback. One size does not fit all. If we give a midterm and a final, those students who do poorly on exams will fail our class every time. We need to have, I believe, very, very strongly, we need to have a variety of ways to assess students. Exams are important, I give them. Writing is important, I give assignments. Presentations are important, critical. My students do a lot of presentations. But the variety is so important. Feedback, it's probably the most important thing we can do as instructors. And it takes so much time. It takes so much time. I started this last year. I started 2 years ago. I started this. That when teams gave presentations in my class, if they wanted a grade, they had to come to the office and then talk to me. And I would give them their grade, and I would give them very specific feedback. It takes so much time. I also give, at the end, toward the end of the class, I give every student in the class personal feedback. It's exhausting. It takes so much time, but the value that has for students, when they write their evaluations, when they give me their reflections, that's part of what they talk about. They talk about how they grow because of the feedback. My first year students, the brand new group, had to do 3 team presentations. I said to them after they finished, and I gave them feedback after each one. I said to them after the third, you know, the students who presented today are not the same students who came through the door 7 weeks ago. You're more confident, you're more professional. Feedback works. It just takes a lot of time. Clear goals, intellectual challenge. The higher the goals we set for students, the higher the expectations we set, the more chance they have of reaching those. I have a reputation of being very, very tough in the classroom, and I know I am. But I say, you know, I have very high standards for myself, and I have very high standards for you. And I said to them, when I finished with the first year class last one, I said to them, you know what, you're probably going to have a class with me in the future. I said, so some of you will think that's good news, some of you will think that's bad news. But my point to them was, when we meet again, my expectations for you will be higher than they are now. But you will know exactly what they are. They'll be very clear. We have to challenge. Independence, control, active engagement. I'm not going to say a lot about that, except I feel it's really important for us to remind students about those things over which they have control. They have control over whether they come to class on time or not. They have control, students, you have control over whether you read the assignment, right? Read it or you don't. You have control over studying for an exam. I can answer questions for you. I can do my best to present the information, but it's in your control. The last one is learning from students.